At this time, I call the Neighborhood Jobs and Housing Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
I guess she needs to get in her seat first.
It's all right.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Gruber. I'm sorry. Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Vice President Harris.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so we have no presentations today, so we're just going to get right to the legislation. I'm going to give Councilmember Gruber about 2-3 minutes to grab his seat. A minute and a half. And with that said, we will get right to it. Make sure I got everything here. Yep, here we go. All right. Introductory number 1, authorizing sale of real estate. I believe the Council Vice President, you had some questions.
Yes, thank you, Chair Patterson. I just got a couple of questions about, I see that you have 3 parcels here that are up for sale. And I noticed that there's 2 parcels or 2 properties that has out of the city buyers. And can you explain to me, are these a part of the land bank or Home Rochester? Can you give me some background on these?
Yeah, when you, just so I'm clear, when you say they're out of the city of Rochester, you mean that these owners don't live in the city even though they're in the area? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just curious.
Got it. Okay. Well, as you know, all of these properties were sold by putting together a request for proposal, accepting those proposals, and determining which property potential owners would be best able to take the properties. So that's what those 3 are here. One of those is on Rayburn Avenue, and he's buying the property that is adjoining his property. The other 2, Seneca Parkway, is being sold to Lenmar, which is a local property owner. They own a number of properties in the city, including other properties in this area, so they were the top proposal for this particular property, which does need a significant amount of work. And the same is true of New York Street, which is a property that requires a significant amount of rehabilitation. So that's the reason that those 3 were chosen.
These were through like a rehabilitation program that for first-time buyers, or?
No, it was a normal process where we would offer a request for proposals and then accept proposals for the properties.
Oh, okay. That's what I was curious. I just wasn't, it wasn't clarified in the proposal, that's why, or in the transmittal, that's why. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes.
Council President?
Yes, thank you, Chair Patterson. First item of the year. Welcome back, everyone. For introductory 1 on 411 Seneca Parkway, I had a question pertaining to the community's engagement on that. I know that at one point there was some concerns relative to the property being potentially turned into an Airbnb or some other use, and the neighbors really wanted to make sure that that property was protected in some way. Do you know what the property owner's plans are for this unit, 411 Seneca Parkway?
We did understand those concerns that the neighbors had. We actually had the neighbors and members of the neighborhood association go through the property with us, look at the condition of it. Then we had a follow-up meeting with the potential buyer and the neighborhood association and the district council member. And in the process of that meeting, we talked about the use of the building. They intend to rehab it, and it will be a single-family home. So at the end of the discussion with the buyer, the neighborhood association, and the council member were all satisfied with the sale to this owner.
Great, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, I need a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 1, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 2, authorizing shared services and grant agreement and amending the 2024-2025 budget for the Rochester Housing Stability Fund Corporation. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Gruber?
Thank you. So just want to make sure I'm clear about some language. So the Rochester Housing Stability Fund Corporation is, in fact, the Housing Trust Fund, the Rochester Housing Trust Fund. That's correct?
That is correct, yes. The official name is the Rochester Housing Stability Fund Corporation.
Got it. And can you just give a full scope of what we're being asked to do here and how it relates to what the kind of past 2 years have been in regards to setting up the corporation, making sure that we have some resources in it, a full board, et cetera? What's the actual ask of this item?
Okay. I have Leah Anselm here, who is the person who is
The executive director.
Right.
Madam Director, if you wouldn't mind just sharing what in full is being asked here.
Great. So there is a board. There are bylaws. There are articles. The set of processes to become an official entity have taken quite some time, as you're aware. In the meantime, the funds that we were allocated from enterprise to go towards housing trust fund eligible activities have been divvied out to those activities. This is what's left, and it is entering into the housing trust fund's own books, as it were, in order to continue the activities that we've always talked through, but as its own entity.
Got it. So this $194,000 are all going into the Rochester Housing Stability Fund Corporation, and at this point, that will be the total budget of said corporation.
At this time, yes.
And of course, our goal is to find other sources of revenue and make
Yes,
sure that
please.
it's full. But that's what the budget is at this moment. There's a board, there's bylaws. How often are meetings happening?
Once a month.
Oh, it's monthly meetings. And what is the plan? I'm sure when we passed legislation creating this, we had a plan for reporting to council and the community. But is it an annual report? Is it more often than that?
The anticipation is an annual presentation, yes.
Calendar year. So basically, the next time, unless we ask otherwise, the next time we would hear a full report would be December of this year.
As we get organized, I think we'll have a better sense of the timing, but yes, within the year.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other council members have any questions on this item? Well, I have a few more. So I was a little concerned. I'm happy to see that we're doing this. I've been supportive of it all along. Happy to see that we're putting some dollars into it, but you're not going to go contrary to, only in government will you say that $194,000 is not a lot of money. But if you're actually trying to build housing, $194,000 will not actually build you a house from the ground up. So it really is not a lot of money. One of the questions that I asked during the chair's meeting was about a funding source. So the first question was, is it possible to possibly tax real estate sales, an additional small tax, or I'm going to amend that to a fee to fund this? And I was told that would take state legislation. I was hoping that law could talk a little bit more about that, and if we could also get a little bit more detail in writing other than it would just take state legislation. I was hoping we'd get a little bit more detail. So if you could speak to that, Corporation Counsel, I'd appreciate it.
We can put that in writing to the council.
Okay, so you'll get that to us. So there's that one. And what was my other question? So, yeah, well, I think I hit both of those. So do we have any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Seeing none, need a motion in a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 2, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 3, license agreement for Community Gardens South Wedge Planning Committee. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
Move it.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 3, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory number 4, we are holding in committee. We are waiting for some more detail and some more information. Not unless somebody has some specific questions at this time. I'm going to be holding introductory number 4 in committee, and we'll just move on.
I do have a
Questions,
question.
Council? Okay, question.
Yes,
Introduct-
so as we are waiting for more information, would that information include examples of the impact of these changes and who the customers are?
I'll answer that. So certainly happy to make sure that we provide that information to the council in writing.
Thank you.
Thanks for that question.
Okay, and so now we'll move on, and now we go to introductory number 30, neighborhood jobs and housing, appropriating funds, amending the 2024 budget, and authorizing an agreement for the Community Cannabis Support Initiative. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Martin.
Yes, could you talk about how Bloom was selected? I know they do amazing work, and there are also other organizations doing similar work. Just the process that the administration went through to select Bloom, especially since there's no RFP attached.
Well, actually, this isn't an administration-sponsored item. This is a council-sponsored item. And in our transmittal, we have the justification for the no RFP, and it actually, the points that you made were the points that we made in selecting Bloom, which was that they have been out on the ground, they've been doing this work consistently and regularly, and the no justification for RFP statement is included in the transmittal.
So is this coming from, so it said from the Office of the Mayor's Budget 2024?
These are the council funds that we had set aside. What we are going to do is the contracting is going to go through the mayor's office, and that's the structure we're using. And basically, we're doing that because there's already a pre-existing structure for doing this, and there's also a pre-existing structure for accountability. We've used it before, and we're looking to use it again. As much as we love and trust the good folks at Bloom, we here in the city council and in the city of Rochester believe in accountability. So they're going to submit requests they're going to do the work, submit requests for payment, get paid, and we're just going to do that process the way we do with everything that we do over here in the city of Rochester.
So it's, okay, so it's saying it's coming from the budget of the City of Rochester, Office of the Mayor. So what part of the city council funds is this coming from? Because it doesn't look like it's from the funds that the president allocated to district council members.
No, this isn't.
This is separate. So
these are, so if you take a look, these are dollars that we set aside. These are the dollars that we set aside. Council President, aren't these the dollars that we set aside?
we set aside
Yes.
400,000.
So this was from, we set it aside, I don't quote me on the exact number, but I think it was 200,000 for emerging needs in the community. And I believe that's where this item is coming from. So the budget transfer would go from that pot of funds over to the Office of the Mayor to then allocate to this initiative.
Okay, so this is from a $200,000, or we can figure out the exact number.
Yeah, we'll get the exact number, but it's from the emerging needs legislation.
That's helpful. So Director Warren, if you could you please set up just an accounting of how much is in that fund, how much has already been allocated, and obviously in writing would be helpful.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you so much for your explanation.
No problem. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this introductory?
Move it.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory 30, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes. With there being no other business before this committee, we stand adjourned.
Can I do it Thursday when I will 100% do it. When I have my, do you have a script or should I prepare something?
I'm just asking everybody like a very open question about Dr. King. Whatever you feel.
Okay.
It's going to be 15 seconds.
15 seconds, okay.
15 seconds.
Thursday I'm here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. At this time, I would like to call the People, Parks, and Public Works Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice President Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Lupian,
Here.
Councilmember Patterson, President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
So, Happy New Year to you all. And as we begin the new year, I'm doubling down on this committee's efforts to end childhood poverty in Rochester. Last year, I launched the Childhood Poverty Initiative that has sought the feedback from Rochesterians on both the causes of and potential solutions to address childhood poverty. Council staff are currently compiling the community engagement and creating a report that I will be releasing later this winter. As we have heard from residents in the city, it is time to act. That's why President Melendez and I are introducing memorializing resolutions this month that supports the recommendations of New York State Child Poverty Reduction Advisory Council, including an increase in the Empire State Child Credit to $1,500 for children from birth to age 17, the creation of the New York State Housing Voucher Program for income-eligible households, an increase in public assistance basic allowance by 100%, reforms to public assistance eligibility rules to increase accessibility, and creating state food benefits for families with children. I urge my fellow council members to join us in our advocacy to put an end to childhood poverty. As I have shared throughout this initiative, it's important that we work together on all levels of government to support our children. In order to do that, we need to hear from our partners in City Hall, the school district, and the county to learn what is currently happening to address the issue. And to that end, we have one presentation scheduled for this month's meeting. So today we have Angela Rowlands and Madeline Britt joining us from the Mayor's Office of Financial Empowerment to learn more about the office and the programs they are currently piloting to advance upward mobility for all Rochesterians. Ms. Angela Rowland and Madeline Britt, you can begin.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to give you guys a quick update on where we've been. I've been asked to keep this 10 to 15 minutes, so I'm going to try really hard to breeze through a whole lot. A quick overview, this office launched approximately 2 years ago, but some of our programs were part of the Mayor's Office of Community Wealth Building under the last administration, but we really consolidated everything to be really focused on financial capability. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So quick impact measures, last fiscal year, which was our first official fiscal year as an office, we had over $1.6 million in financial gains of our program participants. That includes increasing their savings, reducing their debt, accessing small business loans and grants. That was over 1,000 residents that we engaged and 900 program participants. We had 25 Kiva loans go to small businesses in the city of Rochester. We participated in over 40 learning events, both nationally, locally, and regionally, and participated in over 20 coalitions, again, nationally, regionally, and locally. We also were able to secure over $600,000 in external funds to help pilot these programs and initiatives. So I'm going to breeze through some of our programs, and my goal is to really focus on our Children's Savings Program for this presentation. So our Financial Empowerment Center is one of our oldest programs. It launched in 2020, and since we have served over 3,000 clients who have increased their savings by over $2 million and reduced their debt by over $4.5 million, which is always really, really exciting to hear. We currently have 3 full-time counselors and a program director. And this last year, we transitioned our operations to the Housing Council at Pathstone, and that's been really amazing so far. We just hired our 3rd counselor, and we're really excited to have a fully staffed 2025. Bank on Rochester, we relaunched last year. This coalition consists of, I don't know.
I guess we're having
I don't know what to do about
some challenges with our
help.
Staff is coming over to help.
Okay. How long was I talking? And it was, yep.
Just gonna restart it. Little technology. Okay.
Okay. So we relaunched our Bank on Rochester coalition this last year. That coalition consists of dozens of financial institutions, local nonprofits, government institutions, service providers, etc., really with the goal of how do we increase access to safe and affordable banking. I don't say that because I just love banking. All the research shows that being set up with a good relationship with a financial institution is really essential to things like building your savings, increasing your credit. Being unbanked is extremely expensive. You can expect over the course of someone's lifetime, if they're unbanked, they're going to spend an additional $40,000 accessing their own funds through alternative financial services. So that's why this is really important to us. So we're really excited. We're working with banks to become Bank On certified, which would mean things like not having overdraft, for example, on that checking account. Really helping folks who are in the check systems, as another example, helping them get out of that so that they can have a good relationship in the financial mainstream. And then in addition, working with our nonprofits who are already serving the and underbanked population to integrate those fully vetted, safe and affordable checking accounts into the services. We also have a priority area around entrepreneurship and serving our small businesses. Kiva, which I know many of you are lenders on the Kiva platform already, provides 0% interest small business loans to underserved entrepreneurs. Since we launched in 2016, we've provided over $1 million in interest-free capital to about 200 small businesses. Last year, we were able to provide $200,000 in Kiva loans to 25 small businesses, and we also provided this really comprehensive one-on-one mentorship coaching program called Prepare to Prosper, and that was for 50 small businesses. We also have a priority around home ownership and how do we build healthy homeowners. So from people who aren't even dreaming of home ownership yet to folks who are, how do we avoid foreclosure, etc. So we've been partnering closely with the Neighborhood and Business Development team to integrate financial counseling into the home buyer program, as well as the Buy the Block program for folks who maybe aren't eligible for that. Madeline, who's with me today, has been working really hard to bring Credit Builders Alliance to Rochester. They're a national nonprofit, and we're going to be doing a pilot with 3 affordable housing providers starting at the end of this month to bring positive rent reporting to those tenants. And so I'm really excited, and more to come very soon on that. And we've also been working on Health of Your Wealth, which will provide free wills to 100 low-income homeowners, as well as integrating resources around weatherization, home repair, how to maintain your home, avoid foreclosure, etc. But like I said, I really wanted to focus my 10 minutes on children's savings today. So I'm going to turn it over to Madeline to talk a little bit more about what we've been doing, what children's savings accounts are, and where we're going in 2025.
Great. Thanks, Angela. So as Angela said, I'm going to be talking about our Children's Savings Account Initiative. For those of the folks in the room who do not know, Children's Savings Accounts, or CSAs, are a form of a long-term savings or investment account that are opened on behalf of a child by a municipal government. They are specifically used primarily for wealth building and anything related to economic mobility. So that might include post-secondary education, but also things like homeownership, starting a business, again, anything that increases that child's ability to improve their economic situation. Those CSAs are very new to this community. There's a lot of research around their impact across the country. They were first established in San Francisco in 2011, and they've really grown exponentially across this country in cities very similar to Rochester, right? So places like St. Paul, Minnesota, Lansing, Michigan, all have CSA programs. I do want to point out that CSAs are specifically prioritized by the Urban Institute's Upward Mobility Framework as a form of an early wealth building account. Early wealth building accounts have been shown to increase upward mobility because the idea is that if you invest in a child's assets at a very young age, that child will have a better economic future as an adult. So as I said, this is a well-researched topic because they've been around for over a decade, and so I want to just briefly go through the impact of CSAs more broadly. The first here is that CSAs have been shown to increase college enrollment and high school graduation. So in particular, when we look at the San Francisco case study, they found that between the control group, so those students who did not have a CSA, and the graduating class with a CSA, the college enrollment gap between underrepresented and represented students closed by 30%. So that's huge, right? It's showing an impact on post-secondary education with this investment at the municipal level. In addition to that, we've also seen that financial literacy among children, if they receive just 5 hours of financial literacy, and they, do this within their school environment, they leave school with a greater understanding of saving behaviors, of banking, and positive financial behaviors. And so similar to many programs across the country, ours is proposed to incorporate ongoing financial education, age-appropriate financial education, not only just 5 hours, but throughout the time that they're in school, so 13 years of them being in this program. One stat that I really love about CSAs is that they have a major impact on the socio-emotional development of a child. And so they found that children have more confidence in themselves when they participate in a CSA. And the mothers of children who have a CSA actually show lower depression levels, and they can see a correlation between a greater amount of hope that they have for their child's future. And lastly, it improves educational outcomes for today, right? So children that are in CSA programs and are in low wealth families, they do better in math, they do better in reading. And again, I think this is in large part because of the ongoing financial education and the investment in the program for 13 years. So we've gone through a very intensive year-long community design process that Angela will get into in a moment. But taking in all of this research, taking in the feedback we received from parents, from community organizations, we've landed on our CSA program called Our Future Fund. This was something that we actually named with parents. We gave them a bunch of different names, and they were most excited about this one. And just to walk you through our program, this program would be a universal, automatic program, which means that every RCSD kindergartner would be automatically enrolled in the program. So the burden would not be on parents to sign up for the program. This is based on the research, the best way to include parents and families into this. In addition to that, once the account is opened, the city would put in, or the program administrator would put in a seed deposit of $50. Again, that the research shows if you put in that seed deposit, it activates that child and that family's participation in the program. The other research that we've done is, of course, we want this to be a universal program, but we want it to be a targeted universal program, meaning that children who are experiencing the highest level of poverty would receive an additional $100 in the form of an equity bonus. So all of this combined, right, they have the equity bonus, they have the seed deposit, this is all starting in kindergarten. In addition to that, before I get into the bonuses, families themselves said to us that they would like an opportunity to contribute to the accounts. And so though it's not required, they can also contribute to their child's account. The really wonderful thing about the research around CSAs is that because it's not a one-point intervention, it's a long-term investment, we have the opportunity to connect families to ongoing resources through this program through action-based bonuses. And what that means is that let's say a child signs up for their first library card, or they go to a free health screening, we could put in maybe $25 for that. Their family attends free tax prep. We put in an additional $25. Over the course of 13 years, this is really the impactful part of the program where folks are being connected to resources and those accounts are actually growing. The last thing I will say before handing back to Angela is, as we said, financial education is an exciting part of this. And what we've seen nationally is when we partner with a financial institution, one that, again, has a bank on certified account, right, has shown that they're investing in the city, we can bring them into the schools. So they can work with kids at Bank at School days, and the kids can actually bring their savings to school that day and put their savings into the accounts. I will hand it back over to Angela.
Great. So how did we get here? So you guys might remember, I think almost a year and a half ago at this point, we received a planning grant from ESL Foundation. So that really kicked off all of this work. We were able to bring in the national nonprofit called Prosperity Now, who's worked with a few dozen cities across the country on children's savings and early wealth building programs. So they were able to really walk us through what are all the design decisions you're going to need to make. How do you make this local to Rochester? Madeline then did an amazing job of convening an advisory group of over 50 stakeholders in the Rochester community, really walking through every single design decision. How much money needs to be in the accounts? Should it be automatic, or should it be, the parents have to call us up and enroll? She really walked through all of those design decisions with a very diverse group of stakeholders. We also hosted, I believe, 5 or 6 focus groups all over Rochester with parents, low-income parents specifically. And we also enrolled a few parent leaders to actually participate in those more intensive advisory group meetings as well. So in total, we engaged over 300 parents and over 50 different nonprofits, government entities, etc. And then we also were part of a variety of coalitions around the country who are doing children's savings accounts and early wealth building accounts, really understanding what are the best practices, what does the research say is impactful, and then how do we really make it meet Rochester's unique needs. So I think we're really, really proud of where we landed and what we've designed. And so now, even though that seemed like a ton of work, actually the work begins now. So now that we've come up with this really great program design that we know is going to be incredibly impactful, now we're seeking grant opportunities to fund it. We're seeking program partners to really bring this program to life. So our goal is to get the resources to fund this program for at least the first 3 years. What we don't want to do is make a commitment to the City of Rochester residents with only a year of funding. We want to make sure that we have a good amount in front of us, we build momentum, and we can sustain this program. This program will have to truly be a public and private partnership. Municipalities cannot put money into these accounts by New York State law. So it will be really essential that we are tapping into corporations in the City of Rochester, foundations in the City of Rochester, national entities, etc. We're also now beginning some contracting, so we're working on an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District, who's very supportive of this, for data sharing as well as for things like Bank at School Days. And we're also going to be working soon on council authorization for the database portal that we'll be using, kind of where parents would be able to log in and access all this information. So our goal is to launch by the end of 2025. And I will open it up for any questions if we still have time.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll start with our council members on my left, Councilmember Gruber, and we'll go down the line for questions.
Thanks. I have no questions. I've had the privilege of serving on the advisory committee, and I just want to say that you two have done a wonderful job, and this is a truly transformational program, so looking forward to see it kick off.
Councilmember Lupien?
Yeah, I agree. This is wonderful. Thank you for all your work on this. I had a question, 2 questions on the child savings account, and then one kind of behind in the presentation. But with the data from the CSA that showed all the positive growth, do you know if the sample size was from universal savings accounts, or was it an opt-in?
So that was a universal account for
Awesome.
San Francisco, yeah.
That's so amazing. And then you said it's not permissible by law to contribute to the accounts. And I'm wondering, because we are able to do like the guaranteed basic income program, how that law, yep.
I'll jump in. So there's a constitutional ban against municipalities giving grants or loans with municipal funds. So the GBI program, we used ARPA because we can use
So
other
if it's
sources
federal.
of funds, right? And so the point here is to find other sources of funds so that we can do this. We just can't use city dollars.
Okay. And the final question is the positive rent reporting. Can you talk a little bit about how that's going to be rolled out? Is that going to be universal, or is it with certain landlords?
Yes, so we enlisted the Credit Builders Alliance. They selected 3 housing providers, the Rochester Housing Authority, Hart Homes, as well as Rosie Property Management. They selected those, And how it essentially will work is they will go through a 6-month training program to learn about how positive-only rent reporting works. At the end of that training, they also will receive a grant through the Credit Builders Alliance. At the end of that training, they will then have the tools that they would need to implement it in their portfolio if they choose to. The one thing I will add is that residents have to opt into it. So it's not as if, the housing providers are saying that their renters have to do this. It's just creating an option for renters if they would like to have this as a service. But again, it will be up to the housing providers once they go through our training.
Okay. Is there any thought of expanding the program to maybe be wider and possibly make it mandatory?
Yeah, I'd love that. We're going to see what we learn from Credit Builders Alliance, and then certainly we want, and part of the press release that'll go out when we kick this off later this month is if there's any landlords in the community that want to learn more, to reach out to our office and see if we can help. Madeleine's already presented at a landlord group last year, and so we're definitely interested in how to move beyond a pilot on that project.
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and the author of The Color of Law was here a couple of years ago, and he mentioned that was one thing that's really standing in the way of people in getting in the path to home ownership. So I'm so pleased that we're doing that program. Thanks.
President Melendez.
Yes, thanks, Vice President Harris. 2 questions. One, with respect to the universal automatic enrollment, and you mentioned the Rochester City School District, which makes sense. Will that be extended to charter schools and students that are in the city of Rochester on the whole, or is it just strictly RCSD enrolled kindergartners?
So right now, at least to start, it would just be RCSD, mostly because of the logistics and the administrative burden of the charter schools. So we would have to have data sharing agreements with every single charter school. So that's something I would love to explore once we have this part of the program up and running. But what we have been trying to figure out is, would it be possible for those students to opt into the program? So even though they're not RCSD, could they still sign up through another process? So we're trying to figure out those details.
Great, thank you. And in writing, as a follow-up, part of the presentation on the agenda anyway was that GBI would be talked about a little bit today. So I just have one question in writing. If we can get an update on where that is. I know that the report is coming probably at some point soon, maybe?
So that's not my office.
That's not your office. Got it.
Yep, but we'll get those answers to you in writing.
Okay. And so just to be clear, the question I'm looking for is any reporting update on that, and then any sense of whether there's any possibilities of continuation. Thank you.
Councilmember Martin.
First of all, great job on this work. It's so important, so creative and innovative, and I'm so happy that you all are taking the lead in making this happen for our city residents. So a huge thank you for all the work you're doing. I have a question for Patrick. Could you send us in writing the statutes that prevents municipalities from funding this project? Sure. And also, does it also apply to the state governments? Like, can we work with our delegation to get funds to get into the accounts?
That's a good question. So I really looked at it only in the context of city funding. It is in the Constitution. I think it applies only to municipalities, not to the state, but I'll look and include that in the response.
Thank you. That's it.
For the students who will be signing up with the city school district, is there a limit maximum for the total household income?
No.
Okay, so just treating it kind of how everything is still 100%, I think, free and reduced lunch based on the percentage of low-income families.
Okay. Are you speaking about the equity bonus or the program as a whole?
The program as a whole,
Okay.
so that first $50.
Sure, thank you. So we're talking about, right, so that would be every child in RCSD would be eligible. That's the universal aspect of the program. They would all be eligible for the 50. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Patterson.
Well, wonderful work. I just have to challenge you to be a bit more inclusive of the children that are able to participate in this program. As Council President Melendez said, we have well, he didn't say it, but we do have a significant number of children that do attend charter schools. And if we are rolling out a program for kindergarten children that live in the city of Rochester, it should be inclusive of all of our kindergarten children that live in the city of Rochester. Without sounding like a, the charter school advocate on the board, on this body, but charter schools receive 3/5 the funding of the RCSD. So if we're talking about educational equity, for us to roll out a program that is not inclusive of those children, it increases the savage inequities that we see in funding for children regardless, especially poor children, especially for families that choose to be involved, to take a different path, to simply screen them out because of this choice is something that I am very uncomfortable with. So it's my hope that, given that you're looking at a year rollout, you're going to have a structure and an agreement for dealing with the RCSD. Though it may be some more work, I would encourage you to look at what that agreement looks like, and then offer that agreement to all of those schools, and those that choose not to. If it's one thing to offer and for them to turn it down, it's another thing entirely for it to not be offered and to be excluded. So I hope that you'll take that into consideration and as you move forward.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith?
Great program with amazing initiatives. I'm wondering two things. If we could get a list of the banks that are a part of the Bank on Rochester Coalition and a copy of the presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add in closing kudos as well, and just wanted to add that, comments meant by President Melendez and Councilmember Patterson as it relates to inclusivity. Just want you to think about the families that's going to be missing out on the action-based financial bonuses that you offer through that program. So it would be really good for you to include the charter school kids as a consideration. So with that being said, that will conclude the presentation portion of this committee meeting, and we will now proceed with the legislation. Introductory number 5, authorizing a grant agreement to fund climate action plan related strategies. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Councilmember Gruber, and then Councilmember Lupien.
First of all, I know we had a work session on climate action plan that I believe I was the only person who was able to make it, so we rescheduled it. I would love to just not have to wait for a new work session, and at the very least just be able to send out the full climate action. There must be a reporting mechanism on how things are going with the climate action plan. Maybe just sending that out to council would be really helpful. Maybe we'll get one rescheduled. I know that our central staff is working on rescheduling a lot of them, but it's good information for us to have now. And in terms of this particular piece of legislation, I'm curious, what does $125,000 buy us?
Ann, do you want to answer that?
Sure, happy to. Thank you. So the $125,000 will be utilized to fund the incremental cost of heat pumps, increased insulation, and heat pump water heaters at our existing home rehab program that the city runs through NBD Housing. So basically it'll pay for that extra cost for putting in a heat pump, for example, instead of a gas-fired furnace. So we're anticipating probably about maybe 10 to 15 homes we'll be able to fund and fully electrify using these funds.
Got it. So it's going to be about 10 or so homes, all of which are already being fully rehabbed by NBD.
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Lupien?
Is this through the Home Rochester program?
So Likely it will be through the Home Rochester program. What we'll be doing is subawarding these funds to an entity like Home Rochester to utilize for the rehab projects.
Good. Thank you.
Any additional questions? So with this one, there's an amendment, motion to amend, and it's to change the entity that the city will enter into an agreement with. So I'll read the amendment. It says authorizing a grant amendment to fund climate action plan related strategies as amended. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. Introductory number 6, authorizing.
Councilmember, Vice President.
We got to vote. Forgot.
Yes.
Thank you. We have to vote as amendment. Introductory number 5, authorizing a grant agreement to fund climate action plan related as amendment.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And introductory number 6, authorizing a grant agreement and funding for New York State Energy Research and Development Authority Clean Energy Communities Program. Questions, comments, or concerns? Need a motion, a second?
Move it.
Vice President Harris, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Monroe.
So generally speaking, about how far are we through changing the residential street lights from the current to the LED?
We are about 75% complete.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And I know some people ask about, the LEDs are the ones that tend to be more of a blue color, and then whereas the existing sodium chloride, I don't know, ones have kind of the yellow tint. Okay.
Yes, correct.
My last question is, so for some of the residential streets that don't have pedestrian level lighting, but just the taller street lamps that come over, are those being changed as well, or is that not included since it's not pedestrian level?
That would be evaluated on a project by project basis depending on where in the city we are.
Okay.
And the specific needs.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lupien for a question?
Yeah, how are we deciding which neighborhoods are getting them?
On this particular grant, this is to replace a specific luminaire. It's called an acorn luminaire, and they're one of our most or least efficient. So that is how this was specifically selected.
And those are all over the city?
They are.
Okay.
We did include a map.
Oh,
yes.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a map and there's a list of streets in the transmittal attachment A, or in the questions. I'm sorry. So I need a motion in a second.
Move it.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 7, authorizing appropriation and mandatory professional services agreement related to the North Clinton Ave milling and resurfacing project, Marietta Street to East Ridge Road. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move
Need
it.
a second. Motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And motion carries. Introductory number 8, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1 million, $887,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the City Hall stair, areaway and street replacement and repair project. Any questions, comments, and concerns? Councilmember Martin, then Monroe.
Could you talk about the timing of this repair? Was it something that you'd previously anticipated doing this year? Yeah, just any information on that.
This project has been in the works for some time, in particular because of the non-compliance from an ADA perspective of all the brick. It's in very poor condition. But as you can imagine, with projects like this, it can get pretty complicated. So it's taken a while to get through design.
Councilmember
Monroe. So on the sidewalks over here on Fitzhugh then, I noticed that a lot of the landscaping that used to be between the sidewalk and next to the building had been changed out from a lot of the native plantings that we had. So I was wondering if that's something that's also going to be addressed with the whole redesign.
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
I need a motion and a second.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 9, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $401,000 bonds of said city to finance certain costs of the City Hall sidewalk replacement project. Need any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And introductory number 10, authorizing the agreement for the City Hall stair, areaway, and street replacement and repair and sidewalk replacement projects. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 11, authorizing the agreement with the New York State Council on the Arts and amending the 2024-25 budget. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Martin?
Can you explain the amount? Why 40,000?
Sarah, can you answer that? Sarah Scott?
Yes, so we applied to the New York State Council on the Arts, and this was the award that was received based on.
Can you say that a little louder? I couldn't hear you.
Yep, this is the award amount that was decided by the New York State Council on the Arts. So we proposed a budget, and this was the amount that in the list of projects received $40,000. Yeah.
Any additional comments, concerns, or questions?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 12, authorizing a grant agreement to support the crisis intervention services. Questions, comments, or concerns? Need a motion, a second.
Move it. Oh,
Second.
Wait a minute.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Councilmember Martin, go ahead.
Yes. So, how will these funds be used to strengthen the already existing program?
Sarah Fletcher?
Yeah, so our plan is to go into a PSA, a professional services agreement, to help with the build out of what the peers do on the crisis intervention services unit. We also want to buy some supplies for the new mobile unit we have for that unit. And then we also want to replace one of our vehicles with a brand new vehicles for the PIC team. So mostly supplies and professional services.
Sounds good. And in the previous year, did this state also give this grants? Is this something that's been ongoing?
This is the first time we've ever received these funds, and actually Senator Brook helped us get these funds, so we're really excited about that.
Thank you.
Need a motion, a second?
Yep.
Councilmember Lupien, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Would you be able to send council kind of an update on the plans for expanding the peer navigation services and use of the vehicle?
Yeah, so in terms of the peers, the RFP was just posted last Monday. Proposals are due March 7th, so you'll see the agreement come through council, I think in May, we decided. And then, yeah, we can certainly send something in writing about how the mobile unit's being used.
Great, thank you.
Any additional questions? Need a motion and a second?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Introductory number 13, authorizing the agreements for the 2024 Bureau of Justice Assistance Fiscal Year 24 Justice Assistance Grant Program. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Move it.
Got a question, Councilmember Lupien?
Yeah, I just want to
Absolutely.
clarify. This grant is split up between the Crisis Intervention Unit and Operation Night Watch. And Operation Night Watch is getting $12,450, and the 187 is for the clinical supervisor.
Yes.
Okay. And then the 15 is then going to the peer navigator work as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Need a motion and a second?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, thank God. All right. Oh, okay, here we go. Introductory number 14, authorizing an agreement for database and case management services for Rochester Animal Services. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I need a motion and a second.
Question.
Okay. Councilmember Lupien, go ahead.
And I'm sorry if this was already answered. Is this replacing an existing system?
No.
So this is something new?
We've always had it, but it's never come through council.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need a motion and a second.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 15, appropriating funds, amending the 2024-25 budget and authorizing agreement for senior support services. Any questions, comments, or concern? And actually, just so you know that this is a council item, so those questions should be related to Council President and the folks who signed on.
Madam Vice President?
Yes, Councilman.
So to the council, just want to explain that there was some funding cuts, if you remember, in last year's budget relative to what we could allocate in CDBG to the Home Safe program, which is really focused on making sure that there's accessibility in the home as seniors age in place in our community. And then in addition to that, there was a pretty high-profile cut. I won't mention the agency here, but from one of the funders in our community, and left some gaps in our community related to senior support services. And so the $75,000 for the Sibley Square project, the Woke Cafe, and the Lily Cafe at Maplewood is really to support 2 senior centers. And then we are allocating $5,000 based on conversations around the needs for a GrandPad pilot, which is basically allowing some of our seniors to get digital access to technology in a way that is helpful to them. So that's what this full item is.
Is there any questions, comments?
Yes.
We'll start with Councilmember Lupien, going on to Councilmember Martin.
Sorry, Siri thought I was talking to her. The funding is coming from fund balance. Is that coming from our council priorities bucket?
Yes, we allocated last year $300,000 to senior support services.
And this year, it's coming out of council priorities?
It's
coming out of last year's
so this was budgetary intent items that we carried forward into this
Understood.
budget. Yep.
Can we get an accounting of how much is left in that budget line?
Yes, I believe it's $200,000, but we'll verify that.
Yes. For 23?
From the 23-24
Okay,
budget. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Martin.
So could we meet with you, Director Warren, to go over the council budget? We have, I guess, 6 months left, and we may still have some funds that are unallocated, and I think it might be helpful for all of us to understand what's been utilized on what and all of those. So could we work to schedule something next week with our staff, Jen, and anyone else who might be interested in attending?
I certainly can answer. I think it would be helpful if we can, I think we have a quarterly report that we can provide, as well as an accounting of what we've allocated from the previous budgetary intent items. If we can get all that together in writing and to be able to share with all of council. And then I think if there's additional...
I would really like to have, it's the beginning of a new year. I think it's important that we sit with budget, and I don't see an issue with the meeting. And just opening it up to all of council, kind of like we do with the law department. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, and I think all those items I just mentioned, though, you'll need. So happy to get that information first together, and then any meeting that needs to happen can happen.
Okay, cool. So next week we can coordinate, schedule, sending out a calendar invite, or I can send one out to you all, and we can all schedule something that may be open to the whole body, because I think it's important that we all have the same information and a handle of, the finances that we have. I am curious, so the funding gap that Lifespan experienced in some of these other organizations, like how did you learn about it? President Melendez, did they approach you? What was it, and how was it decided that 100,000 would be, and is there any documentation of meetings or how the decisions were made prior?
Sure. I think, Council Vice President, this is probably more your wheelhouse.
Yes. Lifespan, as you know, I've been working with Lifespan on various things, including the estate planning project that's coming up in March. So in the meeting, I've had a couple of meetings with them. I met with Marianne Cook in a private meeting with myself and my legislative aide and staff, and they let us know that they had some budget gaps. And I made the pitch to our staff here and the president that we would help them close those budget gaps. Home Savings Home, and of course the other programs that the granny pads. And one of the things I found is that we don't have enough programs that support our seniors. The seniors are often left holding the bag after they've served so many years supporting our community, retirement and stuff. So there's a lot of things that we haven't done in the years past to support our seniors, and I thought this is a good way to support our seniors. And believe it or not, it comes right back to the folks that we serve right in our communities. And actually, it came right back just recently. One of my family members is getting the handles and the shower handles installed right now this week as we speak. And little did they know that came from council. So it's a good legislation item that we needed to move forward on, and I stand behind it.
That's super helpful, and thanks for sharing that information. Is this something that you plan on doing annually? I fully support it. I mean, this is a significant need in our community, and I'm very happy you worked with the community and brought it to us. And I'd be interested in seeing how maybe we could incorporate something like this in the budget on an ongoing basis, as it is a priority for us.
I'm not sure if we would be able to sustain it, but I will certainly say that if we can get grant funding for this, absolutely. Anytime we get underruns to help our seniors, because a lot of times, like I said, they're left holding the bag. You know, property values go up, as you know, and other things go up, groceries, of course, prescriptions, and this is a way that we can support them and help them stay in their homes.
Great. Thank you so much, Vice President.
You're welcome. So is there any additional questions? Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion carries. So before we adjourn, I just want to draw attention to my council members, our council members here, on another memorializing resolution that I'm putting forward this month with President Melendez. It is to urge New York State legislation to recognize EMS as an essential service. As you all know, I am a paramedic. I have seen firsthand the impact on funding shortfalls, the lack of volunteers, and longer ambulance wait times that our community has faced, and also the wages that are kind of like a problem. Our EMS service is in crisis, and it's been in crisis for a long time. We need to deem EMS as an essential service, and it needs to be a vital step towards creating a resilient, equitable, and effective emergency response system in this community. It opens up opportunities for guaranteed funding and standardizing the access, improving response times, and workforce protections for paramedics and EMTs who serve our community. Please join me in supporting the ask of New York State Association of Counties and the EMS professionals across the state to recognize EMS as a cornerstone of public health and safety in this community. So I just urge you to do that, and I look forward to working with you on that and pushing this item. With no further business, the People, Parks, and Public Works Committee stands adjourned.